How's it going, everyone? Hope everyone's having a great day. This is Andrew with the Medellin Buzz, and today we're going to have a pretty good show because we're going to go kind of in detail on what you need to know in order to move to Medellin, Colombia. This is definitely for people that are serious about moving down here. Probably you've visited down here before many times and you've decided, okay, it's time for me to make the move, whether it's temporary or full-time. All of this will apply. And some of this will apply to you even if you're not moving down here, but you're just doing like an extended visit, or maybe in the future you want to do it. So a lot of good information we're going to go over here. Let me get my stream up here. Let me make sure that everything's working fine on YouTube. What's up, Oni? How's it going? Hope you're having a good day. Let's see. I gotta open up the stream over here. It is Sunday. It is 4:02 p.m. here in Medellin, Colombia. It's been a great day so far. Sundays are always really great here. A lot of there's always something to do on Sunday, but what I do on Sunday is I do ciclovia, which is They closed down one of the big roads here near my house, and we walk down there.
Over 1 million creators and brands are growing faster, engaging better.
And it is super fun. Yeah. What's up, Sean Riley? How's it going? Hope for information about immigration. Yes, we're going to go over that for sure. This is going to be, so I guess I'll preface. I'm going to start recording because I am going to record this. What's up, Michael Sands? How's it going? Hope you're having a good day. I'm going to start recording this. There we go. Recording. Yep, it's recording. All right. So this is a recording for, I'm going to make a video out of this as well for the channel in case you're watching this on the repeat. The video will be a shorter version of this presentation, but I also recommend that you watch the longer presentation, this live presentation, because I'll be answering anybody's questions in the chat, and I'm sure some of you might have the same questions. So it's always good to watch the live thing. You're doing well, Sean. Nice, good to hear it. All right, so a little preface preface before a preface. I'll preface this presentation by telling you about me and kind of what I do. So my name is Andrew. I have this channel called the Medellin Buzz. It used to be a blog that was pretty successful a few years ago. I'm talking about like 8-9 years ago. And now I created this new YouTube channel, which started last year. And because of the YouTube channel, I was getting a lot of people that wanted help to move down here to Medellin. So between me and my business partner, AK Joel, who has his own YouTube channel about moving to Medellin and his experience living here, we created the Medellin Masterclass. And through the Medellin Masterclass, we've helped many people since we launched in November of last year. I think it's over it's about 40 people that we've helped. And we're not talking about just visiting Medellin. We're talking about a complete relocation to Medellin. Whether it's part-time or full-time, we've helped over 40 people come down here, establish their life, purchase property, get acquainted with immigration, get acquainted with the culture, finding their own tribe, their own community, and building our own community, because that's one of the pluses about having the Medellin Masterclass is that I get to build my own community, which is awesome because most of the people are people that are very successful. They're entrepreneurs, or they're just retired. They've had successful careers in the past, and now they're retiring in Medellin, Colombia. They are people that are working right now online, maybe on their own businesses, or maybe have remote jobs and side hustles. So I've learned a lot from this group of people that we've cultivated. So it's been great. So from that, I've created this presentation on the essential things you need to know in order to move to Medellin, Colombia. And this can apply to pretty much anywhere in Colombia, because I'm going to go over the immigration laws, which apply everywhere, and some other important details that can apply nationwide. Now, before I get started, if you want to watch, we have a full hour-long, it's a free webinar on the Medellin Masterclass website. It's in the description. There's a link to it. It's a free webinar. If you're watching this on the replay, you can just go down to the description and click on it. Or after this, if you want, you can click on that link and watch that free webinar where we go it's me and AK going even more in detail about all this stuff that we're talking about moving to Medellin, Colombia, which is great. What's up, CBL Daddy? And now you own real estate agency. Terrific. Yeah, now... So because of the Medellin Masterclass, and we've helped so many people move down here, and many of them have wanted to buy their own apartments. We just started helping them, buy their apartments and representing them as the buyer's agent. So much so that now I am actually becoming certified, or they call it being a part of the Lonja, which is the Colombian MLS. In order to do that, you've got to meet some requirements and also pay a monthly fee. But once you're part of that, it's kind of gives you a little bit more validity, even though anybody here can be a real estate agent. But at least you're part of a society of real estate agents that are held responsible to some of the same regulations that the U.S. has, right? Like customer service type stuff and what do you call it? Mutual respect between other real estate agents as well. So I really like that. And I've been working with other real estate agents as well. And I've met so many cool people doing this. So yeah, we were able to build the Medellin Real Estate Investments channel on YouTube as well, and that whole business. But today it's all about moving to Medellin. So if you are interested in moving here, even if it's part-time, this presentation is going to be great for you. It's going to give you a lot. There's going to be a lot of gold nuggets, but we're only going to go for about an hour and a half. So the Medellin Masterclass is 6 hours long. It's a 6-hour masterclass that teaches you everything about relocating here and answers a ton of questions that you may have. But this hour and a half that we're going to go over right now will answer a lot of questions. It'll probably give you even more questions to think about, as you're planning your move down here, if that is the thing. Jamie, what's up, Jamie? I love the shirt. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. Saludos a todos desde Mexico. Greetings to all from Mexico. What's up, Milton? Milton was one of the people that I interviewed. ¿Cómo estás, Milton? Yeah, okay, so let's get started with the presentation. I'm going to share my screen here. Right here. I'll go full screen here. There we go. Okay, so living in Medellin, everything you need to know. Let's talk about what you need to know before you even get to Medellin. This is stuff that you can take care of while you're still in the United States. And I say United States because that's the country that I'm most familiar with. We do have people from other countries that are in the Medellin Masterclass, but I would say about 85% of the people are all from the United States, if not more, maybe 90% are from the United States, some from Canada, some from Europe. We don't have anybody yet from like Asia or the Middle East or anything like that, but I'm sure it'll happen over time. But this will apply to pretty much everyone because it's information about getting into Colombia and living here. So before you get started, these are the things that you can start working on while you're in your home country, United States being the primary one that I'm talking about. Let's talk about budget. This presentation and moving to Medellin, not even the presentation, just moving to Medellin should be for people that have the budget to move to Medellin. You don't want to do what I did and get deported and come here with zero money. or maybe you're not getting deported, but you just don't have the budget to live here, because the worst thing that can happen is that you come down here and you love it, and then you're like, man, I need to figure out a way to make money, and then you're taking low-level jobs down here and having a difficult time, and eventually what happens to those people is that they move back to the United States to go live with their parents or go roommate with people while they get another job, and they're pining over coming back to Medellin, and all they can do is pretty much visit every now and then on vacation. So you want to get your budget straight. So what is a good budget? If you've watched my videos here, if you've watched my live shows as well, you know that I always preach that $2,000 is good enough to live in Medellin. $2,000 will allow you to live comfortably even in El Poblado, a lot of people say, oh yeah, El Poblado is overpriced. Miami prices and all this. Yes, there are overpriced properties for tourists that are furnished on Airbnb or even off of Airbnb. If you go on some of these Facebook groups, those properties that are beautiful, immaculately furnished, decorated with king-size beds, perfectly looking, with a view. Those are going to be very expensive because they're catered to the tourists. I know because I have a few of them myself. And I don't cater to people that are going to be living here for a year, 2 years, or for a long term. I cater to people that come here for a month, 2 months, 3 months. The longest tenant I've ever had was 6 months, and they were paying $2,000 per month for one of my apartments that if they went the local route, that apartment would go for like $800 a month. But it would be unfurnished, not remodeled, completely like Colombian looking, and then they'd have to do their own thing. So that being said, a good budget to live on here would be $2,000, and you could still live in some of the nicer neighborhoods like El Poblado or even the nicer areas of Laureles. And we'll get into the areas here in a minute as well because that's part of this presentation. So budget $2,000 plus. You can do it with less than $2,000 a month. I know people that have lived here with $1,000, but they live in the lower income neighborhoods. Now, I have nothing against that. I mean, I had to do that because I got here after being deported from the United States and, having to live on a Colombian salary for a while I got my business that catered to companies in the United States off the ground. And that took like 6 years of my life here. From 2010 to 2016, I was living like a regular Colombian, teaching English out here, living in lower income neighborhoods, lower middle class neighborhoods. I even lived in downtown, and those were very cheap places to live, and I had a lot of fun. So you can do it on a lower budget. Do I recommend it? Not really. If you're, over 40, you don't really need to be doing that, hopefully. But to each his own. You can do it. So that's budgeting. Budgeting 2,000 plus is okay, is good. If you've got $5,000 a month, now you're talking like you're living like a king, right? So get your budgeting straight, get your money right, make sure that you're not coming down here and being like, oh man, I'm here with $1,200 a month and I'm having to kind of struggle, right? Or take public transportation that I don't want to take or do things that you don't want to do. That's really the key there. So budgeting is number one. Number two, something that you can work on while you're not in Colombia is banking. So what do I mean by banking? You want to make sure that when you come down to Colombia that you've got your banking situation in the United States fine. So what I mean is that whoever your bank is, find out what their international ATM withdrawal fees are. Because, for example, I have Bank of America, and they charge me through the roof when I withdraw from an ATM here. And then not only does Bank of America charge me, but also like Bancolombia or Davivienda or whatever the local bank will charge me. So I'm getting charged up the yin yang. So the way to circumvent that is to find a bank that has very low international withdrawal fees or zero. Charles Schwab being the number one that most expats use. I don't use that one. I don't use Charles Schwab. I use Mercury. Mercury Bank is a bank for online startup companies. So if you do have an online startup, I highly recommend Mercury because they have zero international wire fees too. That's a huge plus because I do business here. So I pay my staff down here. I have a bunch of business expenses down here. So being able to do wire transfers directly to Colombian bank accounts for zero, that's a huge thing. So if you do have a business and you're looking to live in Medellin, look into opening up an account with Mercury. I did a lot of research together with my other business partner, which does zero international wires or zero fees on international wires. And if you're just a regular person and you need a checking account, Charles Schwab could be the answer for you. Check them out and see if that works. But they have zero. It's not that they have zero fees. They reimbursed the fees every time you withdraw from an ATM in Colombia. I don't know how it is in other countries. I just know that in Colombia, that's the way it works, and everyone loves that. Capital One checking is better than Charles Schwab. Oh, I do have Capital One checking. Yes, I have Capital One checking and Capital One credit cards. So yeah, look into Capital One. Sean O'Reilly says Fidelity Investments doesn't charge international fees and repays ATM fees, just like Charles Schwab. Does Revolut work? Yes, Revolut works. That's another thing that I was going to talk about here. Wire transfer apps. So we talked about banking. Get your American banking, settled before you even come down here. Also, another big tip that we always give all of our masterclass students is that before you get down here, make sure that you renew all your cards. No matter when the expiration date, unless if you just renewed it, but check the expiration date on all your cards, even your debit cards, even your driver's license, your local ID, or whatever you use out there, and renew it. That way you don't have to do it, because being able to get the card when it comes down, when you renew a card, can be difficult. You renew a card and they send it to a mailing address in the United States, but how are you going to get it over to Colombia? You're going to have to wait until someone comes down here and can bring it to you, or you're going to have to use a service like the Caribbean Shipper, or FedEx, UPS, or whatever that can ship it over to you, and there's going to be fees added to that. So you might as well delay that the most as possible, right? By renewing your bank cards and your IDs and all that stuff. As well as in your BBVA works great in South America, no fees either. Okay, good. BBVA does exist here. I do have a BBVA account, but I never use it. Well, I have a credit card. I never use that credit card. As well as in Europe. Okay, what happens if a person comes to Colombia and overstays his visa for years and years? Well, the worst thing that can happen is that they might not let you back in the country once you leave, and you'll be fined, which is that's like the worst thing that can happen. The less of the worst things that can happen is that you have to pay a fine when you leave, and hopefully they'll let you back in when you do come back. I haven't heard of someone that overstays a visa years and years and years. I've heard of people overstaying their visa for a long time, like I'm talking about like months, and they pay a fee and then they can come back. But the fee could be pretty hefty. I heard. I don't know exactly what it is. Europe is in a very bad situation. I'm sorry to hear that, Jacob. Okay, so banking in the United States. Now, another thing that you might want to do if you do live in Florida, I know that there are Colombian banks that have points in Florida, like Bancolombia, Banco Pichincha, Da Vivienda. All of those banks have, and BBVA also has, but the BBVA for Colombia, because the BBVA in Colombia has no connection with the BBVA in the United States. So you might want to look into, if you're living in those areas where those banks do exist, to see if you can walk in there and actually open up a Colombian Bancolombia account while you're in Florida, which would be a huge benefit for you if you come down here to live, because you really can't do anything without a bank account here. Bring Teo back from Nexo Legal. Yeah, that's so funny that that you mentioned that. Mateo, I've been talking to him, and we're supposed to do an interview either next week or the week after. He was gone on vacation for a little bit. It just seems like the visa process is a real pain in the neck. Paying a fine seems easier. Yeah, well, we'll go over the visa here in a second. So banking is one thing. Wire transfer apps, you can use, someone mentioned Revolut. You can use Remitly. You can use Wise, W-I-Z-E. W-I-S-E, sorry. Wise app works really well. Out of all the ones that I've used in the past, I've even used Zoom, Xoom, because again, when I started my business, I had to figure all this out. So I used a bunch of different apps, and I learned that Wise has the lowest transfer fees. So I still use Wise to this day, which is great. I even Wise myself money sometimes, depending on the situation. So wire transfer fees, you can set those up while you're still in the United States. People do use PayPal here, but in a different way, because you can't hook up a Colombian bank account to PayPal. So they have to do it through an app called Nequi, which you could also use as a foreigner. It's called Nequi, Nequi, which you might want to look into. Milton says the visa process is friendly, but you have to be patient. Patience is not a characteristic in the U.S. or other countries. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, but I'll go over some of the visa stuff here in a second too. It was overwhelming for me when I was learning it. I didn't even have to go through it, but while I was learning it, helping people move down here, it was overwhelming. But now that I understand it, it's not that daunting, to be honest. Can I send money to myself using Western Union to pick up in pesos in Medellin? You can, Danny. You can definitely do that. You can also, okay, so I've been looking at this here. I'll share my screen here. I've been looking at this. I haven't signed up for it, but I'm going to. It's called the Dollar app. You might want to check it out because you actually get a credit card. The world has no borders. Your finances don't have to. Check out the dollarapp.com. Dollar app seems like a very great thing to use because it's kind of like it's a bank card that you can use in Colombia. Does anybody watching this, if you're watching on the replay or if you're watching live, make a comment if you use the Dollar app and how your experience has been. I've talked to one person that hasn't. They love it. So I'm going to sign up for it and use the Dollar app to see how it works because apparently you can use it pretty much anywhere in the world, really. So, or at least in the countries that they have that they service. So I'm going to check out the Dollar app. Okay. All right. So wire transfers, we talked about that. We'll get into the visa thing. Whether it's friendly or not doesn't really matter. If you just want to pay the fine, just pay the fine. Who cares? NGR says, yeah, I want to pay cash, but they didn't accept. I just left the country and paid once I returned. No problem at all to re-enter. Okay, there you go. There's your answer. So pay the fine when you re-enter and you're okay. Typically, I mean, I wouldn't recommend that. I don't recommend overstaying, but it seems like it's not that big of a deal. Jacob says, can you buy a Ferrari and drive in Medellin? You can. You could do anything in Medellin. Do you want to? I mean, I don't think so. The streets here don't allow for it. I mean, you really can't go over like, what, 80 kilometers maybe on Las Palmas for a short distance too. It's not even like a long distance. So I don't think it's optimal to buy like a sports car like that or a high performance car like that. Here it's more, like trucks and SUVs are just more practical because a lot of people do have, fincas outside of the country or outside of the city, I should say, in the countryside where you need like 4x4 and stuff like that. That makes more sense than a Ferrari, in my opinion. But again, you could do it. I've seen Ferraris here. I've seen Lamborghinis. I've seen Porsches. I've seen, BMW. All that stuff is here. But to me, it wouldn't make sense for me to get it. I mean, you can't really take advantage of it. G-Max says the terrain is not superb for a supercar. Yeah, it's not only way too hilly, but there's a lot of potholes. A lot of potholes, speed bumps that are all different sizes and shapes and stuff. Like, it doesn't seem optimal. Okay, so we were talking about wire transfers. We talked about another question that we get a lot in the Medellin Masterclass is how to transfer large amount of money, like if you want to buy a car or if you want to buy a house, where a regular wire transfer might not be the best option. The best option for that would be to open up a brokerage account while you're in the United States. You can, and I'm not talking about a United States brokerage account. I'm talking about a brokerage account in Colombia, a Colombian brokerage account like Alianza or Acciones y Valores. And if you are buying a property down here and you don't have a Colombian bank account, since there is no escrow service technically in Colombia, you have to wire money to the seller. But you don't want to wire it from your account to from the United States directly to the seller. It's not recommended. You can do that. It's not recommended though. But if you do it, make sure that you're working with a lawyer closely so that they can make sure that everything's going right. That being said, the best option is to open up a Colombian brokerage account and wire yourself money from the United States to your Colombian brokerage account, and then from your brokerage account to the seller of the asset that you're buying. It's typically for homes. Big Dave says, not to mention putting a target on you. Yeah, I mean, if you have a Ferrari, no one's going to mess with you because they're more scared of you than you would be of them. The people that own Ferraris down here have really not much to be afraid of. And most thieves know that. They wouldn't even mess with that. That's why, like, for example, you see, like, there are, like, really nice bikes out here. I'm not a bike guy, like, like the BMWs, the big Yamahas that are, like, cross country. Those don't get stolen much because, number one, whoever steals that will be easy to find because it's the only one in the barrio. Number two is, like, what are you going to do with that? What are you going to do if you steal a Ferrari? Not much. Like, you can't even sell it for parts down here, really. So it's not like putting a target on you. It's more like it's not optimal to have it here, to be honest. Another option is to open a fiduciary account with Alianza. Yes, exactly, which is my case. Just another option. Yeah, brokerage account, fiduciary account with Alianza. Acciones y Valores also is a brokerage firm. Those two are the biggest ones, the ones that I've used. I've used Alianza the most because I have a contact there that speaks English and will walk my client or my student through it, in English. And it takes about 2 weeks, and it's done pretty easily. So brokerage account. Another thing that you can figure out before you come down here is your phone line. Like, what do you want to do? Do you want to keep your phone line in the United States? A lot of people do. And I do recommend that you do have a U.S. phone number because a lot of the time you'll have like those two-factor authentications for banking purposes where they need to send you like a text message or they need to call you to your U.S. phone number. So for that reason, that's why I have a U.S. line. Now, I don't have a U.S. line with like Verizon, with any of the carriers there. I use a voice over IP. I use Magic Jack. I've been using Magic Jack for 20 years now. I've had the same Magic Jack number since I lived in the United States. In 2015, when it first came out, I bought the first Magic Jack device, and I've had that same line for years, and it's just an app on my phone now. You don't need a device. It's just an app on your phone, and you can receive phone calls and you can make phone calls as long as you've got a stable internet connection to anyone in the United States. So when I need to authorize something, I choose the option for them to call me instead of a text message. For example, like Bank of America or whatever, they need to send you a code. I choose the option, call me, and then I get around that. Some people prefer the text message, or some people just prefer to keep their phone number, and you can. My parents, they were living in California for 39 years. They just moved down here, and they kept their phone line over there. They were on a family plan with my sister, and it was $10 more. I forget the name of they're with Verizon, but I forget the name of the thing that they added for international calls and text messages, and it was only $10 more for all of them. So that was a really cheap way for them to keep their phone number. And they also have a Colombian phone here, or SIM card, right, or phone number. So it works. It works well for them. GMAX says, do you have real estate contacts in Santa Marta? I do. I have one. I was just in Santa Marta last weekend for a friend's birthday party. We were in Palomino for like 4 days. And I have a contact there who has a couple of apartments and a construction deal in Santa Marta. There's a lot of construction going on in the coast. I mean, I think it's always been that way, but it just seems like it's more now. Like Santa Marta and Barranquilla. I'm looking at Barranquilla to buy because my brother and his wife live in Barranquilla, and they're buying their first apartment for investment for Airbnb. So I'm very interested in following exactly what they're doing to see what the rate of return is, what the occupancy rate is. They're going to be buying like a 1 or a 2 bedroom apartment in Barranquilla in the like El Poblado neighborhood of Barranquilla. My brother was telling me that most of the occupancy there that he's seen through AirDNI, he's done a lot of research, is pretty high, but it's mostly Colombians going to Barranquilla for business, which is very interesting. So it's not a lot of like foreign tourists. It's more like Colombian tourists going there. So that's a whole other deal. But yes, I do have contacts out there on the coast. If you need them, just hit me up. There's a link in the description to our form, to our real estate form, where you can fill out the form. I'll get it, and then somebody on my team will get back to you as soon as possible. It's usually me that gets back to people right away. So keeping your phone number, that could be a very good plus or a big plus in case you do need to, do banking stuff, etc., two-factor authentication, all that stuff. So I highly recommend doing that. Let's see, any other questions here? I've been distracted with my business and accidentally got a local girlfriend. Wait, what? Buddha says, been distracted with my business and accidentally got a local girlfriend. Still planning. Oh, I see. Still planning to come your way, brother. Thanks for keeping this rolling, and congrats again on the family. Yes, I got the new baby. Estrenando el bebé. Yeah, he's gonna be 4 months old in like 5 days. It's awesome. It's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Google Voice works. Oh wait, somebody asked about Andres. Another option is to open a. I saw that. Well, what about Google Voice? In Colombia, cannabis is great business, in my opinion. I have no idea about that business, Jacob. I knew one person that was in it, but they sold the business. They had a marijuana plant, or like not a plant, but a farm. A plant farm, I guess, marijuana plant farm. But they sold it. I don't know anything about that business. I stay in my lane. I know real estate. I know digital marketing. I've been asked about a ton of other businesses, but I stay in my lane. I do what I do best, I guess. Okay, so that's what you could do before coming to Colombia. Let's talk about entering Colombia. Entering Colombia, those of you that have entered recently, have you had to fill out the check MIG? Some people, I'm getting some people say yes, some people say no. Has anybody entered recently? Have you had to fill out the check MIG form, which is a link to a government site or a government page, and it's a form that you have to fill out before you enter Colombia? I'm getting different people that are saying that they did, some people that are saying that they're not asking for it anymore. Some people say it depends on the airline. I don't know, but make sure you know about check MIG. Yes, I had to do 2 weeks ago. Okay, so RWT says he did. Brun says we did, but they never checked it. Okay, there's when we landed here. Wait, did they check it when you got on? That's when they check it, right? Kind of depends on the airline. Okay, Avianca hounds you for it. I got you. Milton said, Jacob, it's called Colombia. It's called Colombia. Yeah, when people spell it with a U, I'm 100% Colombian, and I don't really care when people misspell Colombia, but a lot of Colombians do. Like, they get like offended, like unreasonably offended, in my opinion, because it's a common mistake, and a lot of the times it's like an autocorrect mistake. It's like, okay, yeah, well, how do you spell United States in Spanish? Estados Unidos. And then what's your abbreviation of Estados Unidos? EEUU. Makes no sense. But you use it, and no American ever got offended. Oh, and by the way, saying that you're American can offend some people down here too. But people are less offended here than anything. Like in the United States, everyone gets offended for everything. I think down here, people are just a little bit more chill about being offended over things. Okay, so check MIG. Make sure that, I guess, fill it out, because some people are saying that they got asked for it. Some people saying that they don't. Just fill it out. Sprint checked mine 3 times in August. Okay. CBL Daddy says 2 weeks ago they didn't check it, but I did it. Okay. Drone Man says Colombia. Yes, it's all Colombia. But you don't. No one ever says Colombia. Okay, so yeah, I always tell like Colombians that I get offended about that. I'm like, so you must be offended with the entire world, because how does a Chinese person say Colombia and spell Colombia in their language? It's not Colombia. How does a German person say Colombia in their language and spell it? They don't say it. How does a French person say it? They say Colombie. It doesn't make sense, but whatever. I'm not here to make sense. I'm just here to spit facts. Okay, so check MIG. Okay, let's talk about the exit flight. So when entering Colombia, they're going to ask you, more than likely, they're going to ask you for an exit flight. You can check sites like Expedia.com to buy like an exit flight that you can just get a refund for, but you're going to have to show that, right? Those of you that have come in, you know, right? I'm from France, bro. We say here Colombia, but I've heard people say Colombie. When I was studying French, they say Colombie, right? So, and they spell it differently. Same in Germany and all other countries, man. It's not a big deal. Okay, so we were talking about, so immigration, when you get here as well, they'll ask you reason for travel. You want to make sure that you tell them that you're here for tourism, and they won't even care. You know, they don't care that if you're going to come down here and apply for a visa to stay long term. They just want to see that you're coming here to travel, and and it's good to have like the address that you're going to, like your Airbnb address or the hotel that you're staying at. Make sure you have that because you don't want any hiccups. I've never really heard of anybody having problems with immigration when you don't have like an address or where you're going from, or because you told them that you wanted to stay here long term, etc. But it's just better just to have everything ready and make your entry seamless. So having like the address that you're going to is really, and maybe even like the contact person at the, your Airbnb contact, or the phone number to the reception at the hotel, just in case. You never know. It's just better to be prepared. Drone Man says, last time I went with Copa via Panama and they didn't ask me for anything. Okay. Buddha says, I'm not here to make sense. I'm here to speak facts. Jacob says, thanks, bro. I'm learning English. Okay, no worries. So entering Colombia is pretty easy. Most of you already know because you've entered before, but it's just good to reiterate. Now let's talk about exploring Colombia. Like once you get down here, or even before you get down here, you might want to know these things, right? You might want to know what neighborhood you want to live in, whether you're going to be doing Airbnb, whether you're going to be going with a local furnished apartment company that caters to foreigners that don't have a local ID or a local bank account, but they rent to you for long term, as opposed to going just with Airbnb. There are those options. Another thing is to maybe rent like a local, which you still can, but you're going to need some things, and we're going to go over what that is. And getting your own phone number here, which is really easy. We'll go over that here in a second. Mr. Medellin and the source for newcomers to the city. Always helpful info. Thank you, Expat Crib. Hey, what's up, Ian? How's it going, Expat Crib? That's Ian from Expat Crib. What's good? He's a real estate guy too. Their website, their channel is awesome. Expat Crib right there. If you go to their channel, it's all about real estate in Colombia, or in Medellin, or in the vicinity as well. GMAX says, I use Onward for my return ticket. Oh, that's a good tip. Onward. I only purchase one ways. Okay. Joe says he loves Sabaneta. All right, let's talk about neighborhoods living in Medellin or the surrounding area. It's something that you should definitely have, on your radar. Like when you're deciding to move here, you probably already know, like, okay, I want to live in El Poblado, or yeah, I want to live in Envigado, or I want to live in Laureles, or I want to live in Sabaneta like Joe, or even farther out. Maybe I want to live in El Retiro because I want to be in the countryside, or maybe I want to be near all the rich people in Llano Grande and their fincas because that town is awesome as well. Everyone has a different reason for living somewhere down here. Let me make this bigger. Here we go. So the neighborhood always depends on your personality and what you like. For example, I'll speak about myself because I live in El Poblado. I've lived in 7 other different neighborhoods and I like them all, but ultimately I settled in El Poblado in Barrio Manila. Barrio Manila is one of the flat areas in El Poblado. So I've lived in the hills of El Poblado in like a high rise that had like 23 stories, and it had an elevator, it had a pool, it had amenities. I didn't like it. It's just not me. I'm more of like, I've lived in downtown, and that was like one of my favorite places to live in. I love the hustle and the bustle. I like things happening. I like to go outside every single day to a cafe, to a co-working spot, meet up with a friend for lunch at a different spot every other day, go watch a basketball game at my local bar or at the local restaurant that's showing it, that serves hamburgers or Philly cheesesteaks down the street. I mean, that's the kind of life that I live because I'm a very social person. I'm a very active person. The gym, I go to the gym 5 times a week, and it's right down the street from me. It's 2 blocks away, the Smart Fit, and I can go to any Smart Fit in the city with the with the type of membership that I have. So that's the kind of life that I lead. That's my personality. So that's why I chose this neighborhood. So Manila caters to that for me. And there are other areas around Manila, like Astorga, Patio Bonito, that I would also live in. But I settled here because I found an apartment here and I bought my apartments here. But I'm actually in negotiation right now to buy one in Patio Bonito. And my parents live in Patio Bonito as well, which is basically like 6 minutes walking from here. And that's where Milton lives. But anyway, that's why I live here. And that's my personality. Now, you might have a different personality, and depending on your personality, there's pretty much a neighborhood for you in Medellin. If you want to be completely immersed because maybe you're learning Spanish, perhaps Manila or the touristy area of El Poblado is not for you. But remember, El Poblado is huge, so there are other neighborhoods like La Frontera, Santa Maria de los Angeles, that are completely Colombian, and you can immerse yourself, but they're just nicer, higher socioeconomic stratums. Or you can go live in a lower income neighborhood or a lower socioeconomic stratum, like a strato 5 or a 4 in like Laureles, where, again, you can tell the difference because the buildings are a little less modern, because the roads are a little less maintained, because even it comes down to like the wires, like the electric wires are older. You've got the older poles and stuff. That's some of the things, visuals of a lower socioeconomic stratum neighborhood that you can tell the difference with. It's like, okay, this is lower than El Poblado because I can tell. You could just tell. But you could be completely immersed, and it'll be cheaper if you're going for a more budget-friendly neighborhood, like in many parts of Laureles. Envigado, I love Envigado. Envigado has some awesome neighborhoods. There are hills there, but there's also a lot of flat area there. And then going beyond Envigado, you've got other cities. Envigado is a separate city than Medellin. It's adjacent to Medellin, but there's other little cities next to it, which are 20-minute, 30-minute drive from Medellin without traffic. That can be conducive to your personality, like Sabaneta, like La Estrella, and even Itagüí, that are awesome and that are you would be completely immersed if that's what you want. And a lot of people do want that, and I completely understand it. For example, if I go to Poland, I want to learn how Polish people live, right? And I want to maybe learn the language, and that's just an example, but I completely get it. So maybe you don't want to be in the touristy area. You can be in El Poblado and be outside of the touristy area, but you could even be farther removed from that in different neighborhoods that cater to what you like to do. I just like my lifestyle because I don't want to be away from the tourists. I want to sell to the tourists. I've got my Airbnbs here. I've got the Medellin Masterclass. I want to help people come here, and I want to be in that I guess in that mix, right? Expat Crib says, yes, El Retiro, after 12 years in Medellin, Retiro is chill and super safe. El Retiro is a wonderful place. We were just out there this weekend, or not this weekend, a few days ago. Oni says, suggest a neighborhood max $1,000 per month for rent. That's any neighborhood in Medellin, Oni. You have a maximum of $1,000 per month for rent. You can find an apartment pretty much in any neighborhood in Medellin for that amount of money. That's a lot. If you think about it, that's 4 million pesos per month. You can find an apartment in El Poblado for 4 million pesos. Again, you'd have to go the local route, which we're going to talk what that entails, but you can find it for $1,000 or less in El Poblado, in Laureles, and then anywhere else is going to be even cheaper because those two are kind of like the most expensive neighborhoods, El Poblado being the most expensive one. Drone Man says, during La Feria de las Flores, immigration officers were extremely overwhelmed with the influx of people. They didn't ask for a single paper other than the passport. Okay, so if you don't want to show anything, just come during August Flower Festival. Yeah, Envigado is great as well. Drone Man says, how close are you from Gabo's restaurant? I'm maybe 2-minute walking, 3-minute walk. I love Gabo restaurant, by the way. And there's one in Envigado as well, in La Buena Mesa. I really like Belén. Yeah, Belén. I have a few friends that live near El Parque de Belén. That's as Colombian as it gets. Would you suggest any other option apart from the Airbnb that is safe? Yes. So let's talk about that. So what I always suggest, or what we always suggest to our students from the Medellin Masterclass that are coming down to Colombia to relocate, we say, look, for the first month, just do Airbnb. Pick the neighborhood that you want to live in and get there and do a month Airbnb there to get acquainted with the neighborhood, to make sure there's a few reasons. Number one, to make sure that this is the neighborhood that you do want to live in long term. Because a lot of the times you live there for a couple weeks or maybe a month and you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling this place at all. So I highly suggest doing like an Airbnb for a month there. And then there's two things that you can do. When you Airbnb with someone, and this happens to me all the time as a host, people that want to stay longer term, when you check them in, you get their WhatsApp, right? You go off the platform and you don't talk about this on the platform in their messaging system. You do it off of the platform in person or on WhatsApp, and you tell them, hey, I'm looking to stay long term. What kind of discount would you give me if I stay here for 2 or 3 more months in this apartment? And you could get usually 20 to 30% discount. That's what I give, because that's what Airbnb charges me. So you can easily get a 20 or 30% discount from the host if you go directly through them and say, hey, I've already been here a month, or I'm going to be here a month. How about if I stay 3 more months, you give me a 20% discount for those months or whatever, or give me a discount. Well, whatever you can negotiate. If you want to, that's a great way. It happens to me all the time because I get guests that want to stay longer, and they say, is this available? And they don't even ask for the discount. They're like, is your apartment still available for like the next month or whatever? And I'm like, no, it's not, but I have another one available, and I'll give you a 20% discount because you're going to pay me cash, or you're going to send me a transfer from the United States directly to my account where I don't have to pay Airbnb their fees, right? What's up, Yabba Dabba Doo? How's it going? G-Max says, I usually did a week in one spot and then hopped around. Really didn't have an Airbnb that I didn't like. Okay, that's good. Facts, and I pay them cash. They usually always accept. Yeah, because we love to hear that. As a host, that's like the number one thing I love to hear. Someone that likes your apartment so much that they want and the city so much that they want to extend their stay longer and pay me cash and not pay Airbnb. I mean, I take that all day, every day. I give 20% for over a month. That seems pretty standard all over. Yeah. Oh, the Airbnb discount? Yes, exactly. Phil, what's up, Phil? Phil says, how about the other cities in Colombia? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cities in Colombia. But I live in Medellin. I've been living here for going on 15 years. In October, it'll be 15 years. And this is the city I know the most. The other city that I know pretty well is Bogota, and now Barranquilla, because my brother lives there and I visit frequently. And I know Santa Marta a bit as well because I go surfing in Palomino, pretty much every other month. At one point, I was doing it every month, at least once. Now it's every other month, really. This year, I've only gone once. But I'm going to go more frequently now that the baby is getting a little bit bigger. Once the baby hits 1 year old, man, I'll be taking him to the ocean. Okay, so Airbnb is a good option. Getting off of the platform with the host to get a discount is another great option. Another good option is just to Google furnished apartments in Medellin, but don't Google it in English. Google it in Spanish. Apartamentos amoblados en Medellin. Look for the local Colombian companies that have furnished apartments that cater to foreigners or to other Colombians that are traveling into into Medellin that are looking for a furnished apartment, where you can get apartments for cheaper than on Airbnb. Do you catch my drift? Don't Google it in English, because then you're going to get companies that only cater to gringos, and it's all in English, and they might charge more. But if you get if you know some Spanish and you get someone that speaks Spanish or a company that speaks Spanish, you could get better rates. Now, there's a couple caveats. There's been scams. People have been scammed. I've heard it's happened since I've lived here for 15 years. It's happened. I hear about it every year. Someone that, posted on Facebook saying, man, don't go with this company because I found them on the internet. and I got scammed. I gave them money up front, and they don't even exist. So this is a way to. These are some of the red flags for those type of companies. When you Google apartamentos amoblados en Medellín, or if you do it in English, furnished apartments in Medellín, you might find a website that has really great pictures, really great apartments at a very low price, like lower than normal, where you're like, holy cow, I'm going with this one because it's $600 a month, where on Airbnb it's $2,000 a month. That's like, for a furnished apartment, let's say in El Poblado, $600 a month. I don't even think that exists anymore, to be honest. But if you see that, that's a huge red flag. You're like, okay, there's something wrong here, right? Don't go with that. Another red flag is that you're talking to them. Maybe the price is kind of fair, right? Or it's close. It's not $600 a month. Let's say it's like $1,200 a month or $900 a month. And you're like, okay, I can do this. It looks great. And you're talking to them on WhatsApp, because everyone does business on WhatsApp here. I think even the president uses WhatsApp in Colombia. Everyone uses WhatsApp, and they all use voice notes for some reason. But anyway, so you're talking to them on WhatsApp, and then they tell you, okay, great. When are you coming? When is your check-in date? Perfect. When are you checking out? Perfect. Great. Okay. In order for me to hold this apartment from you, you're going to have to give me a deposit, the first month's deposit, $1,000 or $900 or whatever it is, in order for me to hold it for you, because I've got like 5 other people that are waiting for this apartment as well. And I'm just going to hold it for whoever sends me that first deposit. Never send money to anybody that hasn't shown you an apartment physically. So that's why I wouldn't recommend trying to find an apartment on some of those websites before you get to Colombia. That's why I always tell, because I want to cover my ass. I don't want to be responsible for saying, hey, yeah, don't use Airbnb. Just Google it and find someone that has cheap, save a couple $100. Go with a local company that has furnished apartments. I want to cover my butt, and I tell my students, like, go on Airbnb for a month. And while you're here for a month, if you can't negotiate anything with the Airbnb person, the host, to stay longer, then you can start looking online, and then go visit the apartments that you're looking at, and only give money if you're going to be signing a contract and getting keys, because there will be a contract as well. Even if you don't have a local ID, those companies will still do a contract with your passport. You might even have to get like a RUT number, which is kind of like the social security number here that anybody can get through the government website, etc. So there are some things that you might have to do, but you'll save money. But if you're not in Colombia and you can't see the apartment yet and they're asking for money, that's a huge red flag, and people have been scammed that way. Voice notes that only play for 1.5 speed. Exactly, Phil. I've found really good long-term stays through Uber drivers, waitresses, and high-end restaurants, and my barbers there. Yeah, once you're down here, that's awesome. Thank you for that, GMAC. That's great advice right there. So once you get down here, the best way to find apartments, and I've done it, this is how I've bought all my apartments. I've never bought an apartment with a real estate agent. I've always found them by talking to everybody. Like, I know everyone in my building. I know everyone, all the business owners around here, and they know that I want to buy apartments. So whenever they see me, they're like, hey, did you see that apartment? Or my aunt has an apartment for sale. Do you know anybody that wants to buy an apartment? I get these type of conversations all the time. At my barbershop, GMAC, at my barbershop, London Barber over here, the manager, he knows that I want to buy apartments, and he's part of the neighborhood watch here. So he talks to everybody in the neighborhood. He knows like the oldest person to the youngest person in all of Manila, because he's part of the neighborhood watch or the neighborhood committee here. And he knows whenever anything is for sale, even if it doesn't have a sign, he knows that, oh yeah, that old lady died, and her sons inherited it, and now they want to sell this giant house in Manila. Do you know anybody that wants to sell? It happens all of the time. So the best thing to do, obviously, is learn some Spanish and socialize, talk to people, talk to your Uber driver, have conversations with the bus driver, whatever it is, you'll always find a contact for something down here. Michael Sands says, Carnaval de Barranquilla. Can't wait. I know, Michael, it's going to be amazing. We've got 120 tickets for Carnaval de Barranquilla, 2 bleacher seats. It's going to be off the hook. NGR says, in 2016, you could get a great apartment for $600 a month in Poblado. Yeah, times have changed. It's no longer for how they say here in Colombia, el chichipato, or like the brokey. Phil says, oh no, sorry. Expat Crib says, great advice. Stay for a month and hunt for a place when you are here. Yeah, exactly. Here's your bird dog deal finder. Nice. Yeah, exactly. So you give. So for example, if your Uber driver hooks you up with an apartment, if it happened to me, I'd tip the guy. I'd be like, yo, thank you for finding me this apartment. I would have never been able to find it without you. Here's 50,000 pesos. You know what that is? Some people don't even make 50,000 pesos a day. And I'm talking about like Uber drivers too. Like sometimes they have bad days, 50,000 pesos goes a long way here. So, just giving something to someone and helping them out because they helped you out, whatever it is that you can give, right? Whatever you can give. It always comes down to the person, but as long as you're giving and you're not being like, the overly giver, because then people will take advantage of you, but you know what I mean. Okay, so local furnished apartment companies, do that when you're down here. Don't do that while you're in the United States, unless if it's like one of the gringo ones like Casa Col or Primavera or even Expat Crib. I know that they have some great apartments on there. Those are people that you can trust. But if it's in Spanish and you see great deals with great prices, just hold off until you get down here so that you go see the apartments, make sure that this person's real, that the apartment actually exists. The worst case scenario that I heard, well, the worst scam that I saw was someone that paid 3 months in advance. It was like $4,000 that they sent to this company. And the company had copies of their IDs. Like they sent him through WhatsApp, say, here's my ID. It was a copy of their cedula. It was a copy of the Chamber of Commerce that the company actually exists. They had a great website, took his money. And then when he got down here, he couldn't get a hold of them anymore. And so he went to the apartment because they actually showed him pictures of a real apartment. He went to that building, talked to the person at the gate, the security guard. And the security guard says, yeah, that exists here, but it's not for rent. There's someone living in it. And he was like, "Oh man, he got duped." Always tip them. Yeah, they're always look out for. They always look out for me. They always look out for me, even when I leave. They're like family now. Yeah, that's the best. That's one of the things that I love about the culture down here. Okay, so renting like a local. So once you're down here, typically this is what you need to rent an apartment. You need a local ID. You need a bank account. If you don't own property in Colombia, then you need a cosigner that does have property in Colombia and or a business that they can hold as collateral if you do not make payments. So even for Colombians, renting like a local is hard. I know because I've dated many girls here that have had trouble renting their own spot. And they've had to live with their parents for a long time because nobody in their family owns property that can co-sign for them, or they don't make enough money to be able to cover whatever it is that they need to cover, or they don't have the credit history in order when they do their background check or their credit check, they owe money, right? If you have credit card debt, etc., and you owe money or you didn't make payments and you have negative negative reports, they run these checks on locals. They won't rent to you. A lot of agencies won't rent to you. So I've been a co-signer for like not hundreds, but tons of people over the course of 15 years. Once I got my shit together, because at first I couldn't rent like a local. I had a local ID. I had a local bank account, but I had zero credit. I didn't know anybody that had a business out here or a house or owned real estate, so I couldn't get a cosigner. So for like the first 6 years, I had to roommate with people until I met enough people, and I did things the hard way. There was not a lot of Facebook groups back then. There were not a lot of expats, and just had to like kind of rough it. And that was my journey, right? So if you're coming down here, hey, what's up? Hey, Kent Covington with the 5 gifted memberships. Thank you, Kent. How's it going? Wow, you got 5 memberships gifted. Thank you. For $4,000 US dollars, somebody can get a site and some forged documents. Exactly. So that's why they do it. That's why they do it. They do those they do those scams because people will fall for them. If just one person falls for it and then they take down the site and do it again in a few months, hey, that's a pretty good bracket right there. Does having a brokerage account count as credit history in Colombia, or does it have to be a checking account? as far as I understand it, the way that credit is built here is very similar to the United States. They use a point system, kind of like the FICO system, and there are credit bureaus. So in order to build credit, you have to be paying things that report to those credit bureaus. For example, like credit cards, department store cards, like the Éxito card, Falabella card, Jumbo card, anything that will report to the credit bureaus. For example, when if you buy into a blueprint project here, the constructor is reporting your monthly down payment every month to the credit bureaus, building up your credit over 2 years. That's why you're able to apply for that loan after the 2 years. So it's very similar to the United States, the way that they report here. So I don't think brokerage account counts, though. Good to see you back on the lives, Edamano. Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it, man. When are you coming back? JJ, do you co-sign for a fee to make it easier for foreigners? No, because there's a limit to how many times you can co-sign for people. And on top of that, I don't want that liability. Like if someone doesn't pay, then they come after you, right? If someone breaks the contract and doesn't pay, then they come after the co-signer, and I don't want that liability on a bunch of cosigns. Brun Mac. Yeah, blueprint projects are pre-construction apartment buildings here that you can get into. I have a whole video on it called I don't even know what my video is called, but I have a whole video on the blueprint projects. Derwin the Destroyer, I'm here now. How's it going? Oh, Kent, you're coming next week. Hit me up to answer your question. See you soon. Yeah, hit me up when you're down here. We'll catch football's back. We'll go catch a game. Anyway, okay, so renting like a local, that's what you need. Local bank account, local ID, co-signer, good credit, etc. That doesn't mean that you can't rent like a local either. So, for example, my parents just moved down here 4 months ago because I had the baby. They came to retire here. They're over 65 now. They've got a pension, so they've got steady money coming in. And they were looking for an apartment through an agency, and they didn't qualify. Imagine, obviously they're Colombian. They've got local IDs. They had a local bank account. They had money coming into their local bank account or their U.S. account through their pensions, but they still didn't pass because they had like zero credit in Colombia. So what they did was they started walking around the neighborhood and getting phone numbers from security guards, getting phone numbers from the signs on the windows that weren't associated to like an agency, and calling people. And they got a hold of a guy, an older gentleman. When I say older, he's 92 years old. And they were able to talk to him, and they told him the situation, said, hey, we want to live here long term. We just moved down here, but we can't rent because we don't have credit history, but we've got income. We can show you our income statements. I've got my son that can even co-sign for me, etc. And he said, perfect. I've got my son. His son is a lawyer, or his son has a lawyer that drew up a contract, a rental agreement, and they rented for a year. And their rent is $2.8 million for a 2-bedroom in Patio Bonito. What is that? USD to COP. Let's see, $8 million. $670 per month for a 2-bedroom apartment in Patio Bonito with a 24-hour security. Very close to the metro station, very close to Manila, very close to Calle 10, Parque El Poblado. So I know these deals exist. It just takes some, elbow grease, some feet on the street. And a lot of the times that's how business is done here. Like we were talking about before, it's just getting out there and making contacts, calling people, messaging them on WhatsApp, and finding a good deal. It can happen. It just takes some time. You'll look it up, Brun Mac. Yeah, let me see if I can find it for you. He's talking about the video about the. Oh, here. If you go to my channel and you go to playlists, there's a real estate playlist. It's in that playlist. If you go to my channel, Medellin Buzz, just the main channel page, and you go to the tab that says playlists, I have a buying real estate Medellin playlist, and it's one of the videos there. Yeah, that's the easiest way to find it. Derwin says, I got a Colombian phone number now. All right, nice. Did you go with Claro, Tigo, Movistar? JJ says 670 month sounds my rent in Brooklyn, New York. Your rent in Brooklyn is 4,400 a month for a garbage one bedroom. One of the tenants in one of my Airbnbs right now, or one of the tourists that's staying in one of my Airbnbs, she's from New York, and she said that she's paying about $4,000 a month, and her apartment is as big as my living room in that apartment. So I believe you. Yeah, I mean, well, New York's one of the most expensive places in the world. Okay, so renting like a local, you can still do it, but you have to get on the street and do it. Now, if you want to optimize your time, what I would do at this point in my life, this stage in my life, if I was making as much money as I make now, I'm 43 years old and now we're living in the United States and I've got a business, I've got some disposable income or some income to invest in my own time and life to make my life easier. What I would do is I would go on some of the Facebook groups, and this is what I tell our students from the masterclass, is like, let's find you a virtual assistant down here in Colombia. We'll find a local that speaks English that you can pay just per project, not even per hour, just per project. Say, look, the project is to find me an apartment. It's going to take X amount of hours probably. I can pay you this much money, or you can pay them per hour, whatever you feel like. But it's not going to break the bank if you do have extra income. You find an assistant that can make you a spreadsheet, go around the city or the neighborhood that you want to live in and find great deals for you. That's what I would do, because if someone can do that for you, that'll save you a ton of time and eventually a ton of money as well. So investing in a local that can help you do that is great. And there are a lot. If you go on those Facebook groups like Gringo Paisa, which is one of the best, or Non-Jerks in Medellin, you'll see that there are locals that will advertise that, hey, I'm looking for a job, or hey, I'm a virtual assistant, etc. For example, Carolina is one of them. The lady that I interviewed in my last video, she does that for people. So having a person like that is probably one of the best ways to get local deals, even if you're here. If you don't speak Spanish, that's a great way to get your foot in the door, is having someone that does speak Spanish do all the legwork for you and find you a great apartment. Do you teach digital marketing, amigo? No, I do not teach digital marketing. I've been asked that a lot. I don't have the passion for teaching digital marketing. I just do it. I have my company and it's great. And I've got my clients, and I've had the same clients for years now. We're talking about like almost a decade now, the same clients, and we've grown together with them. So it's a really weird situation, but yeah, I don't teach it. So I'm sorry about that. But I mean, I learned everything on Facebook, on the internet. I learned everything on YouTube, free courses. I paid for courses as well to learn what I do. Oni says the Facebook groups seem a bit toxic. Yeah, but look through the toxicity. Yeah, there's toxic people on there, but there are some legit people there as well. Looks like they only accept the good news. Yeah, I'm on those groups. I moderate. Gringo Paisa is less toxic than all of them, and same with Non-Jerks of Medellin, or Medellin for Non-Jerks. Anyway, those two are probably the least toxic ones, because so I'd probably join those. What's the best place to find virtual assistants besides Facebook? I've always found mine through Facebook. I think every virtual or every assistant that I've had here, and employee that I've had in Colombia, like paid employee, has been through Facebook. Yeah, that's the best way, is going in the groups and finding the people that are like that kind of stand out, like that, like, oh, this is a local that speaks English and they have great references, etc. And I think Facebook's a little bit more personal too than just like email or whatever. And then you get them on WhatsApp and you start talking, maybe do like a Zoom call or a what do you call it, FaceTime, to get to know them and maybe interview a few people. Jesse James says, okay, thank you very much. No worries, Jesse. Oni says, any digital marketing courses that you would suggest for remote roles? Well, for example, I do search engine optimization. I know that Neil Patel has a great one. Neil Patel is a great teacher. I learned a lot from him. Neil Patel for digital marketing. For digital marketing encompasses a whole lot of stuff. And what I focus on mostly is search engine optimization. So I would highly recommend Neil Patel or Brian Dean. Both of them have taught me a lot over the years, and I still follow them. Okay, so renting like a local, virtual assistant, someone that lives here, perfect. Phone number, getting a phone number down here. Once you're down here, if you've got like the new phone, like the iPhone 16, or I think after the iPhone 15 or something like that, they only use eSIMs, or after the 13, I don't know, whatever. But if you use an eSIM, you're going to have an unblocked phone that you can have one of the carriers here install the eSIM. So make sure that your phone is unblocked, and you do that by going to the store where you bought your phone with the carrier, so that they can unblock it, so that when you get down here, you can actually install the eSIM down here. I love Neil, great channel on YouTube. Yeah, he's great. Medellin Buzz is good, man. Make sure to hit the like button. He gives a great information. Thank you, JJ. Yeah, guys, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you. If you're watching this on the replay, you can also hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, make sure to subscribe. And if you want to watch the free webinar for the Medellin Masterclass, which is longer than this, goes a little bit more into detail about what the Masterclass teaches, because the Masterclass is 6 hours of all of this type of information. There's a free webinar. The link is in the description. Just click on it, and you can watch it for free. It's an hour. It's about an hour long, so save some time to do that. Okay, so you'll have to get your eSIM. If you have got a phone that you can insert a SIM card into it, you could do that with any of the carriers down here. I use Claro. For me, I've had the best experience with Claro. I have had Movistar, but when I traveled to like the coast, Movistar wouldn't work as well. But whenever I travel with Claro, I've been to the Pacific coast, I've been to the Atlantic coast, I've been to Cali, I've been to Barranquilla, I've been to Bogota, I've been to many different cities, and I use the same carrier, Claro, and it's always worked well for me. So I always recommend Claro. What's the usual rates for mobile data? Ballpark figure? So with about 30,000 pesos, with about 40,000 pesos, you're good for a month. Like if you're doing like the prepaid, if you just get a SIM card and then you go to like a store that will put data on there, you can go to the store or you could go online to the Claro website and recharge your phone line with like 30 or 40,000 pesos. When I used to not have a post-pay plan, like an actual phone plan, I would just recharge it every month with like 30 to 50,000 pesos, and I would never run out of data. Let's look at that actually. Claro. Let's see. Claro here. Let's see what it says. Claro says, oh, you could even recharge through WhatsApp. So they've got different packages. Like this is a package right here. These are all prepaid packages. So it just depends. You could go to their website and get all this data. I'm not going to do that right now, but look, they've got a bunch of other services too. But for the phone plans, you could just go to it's called prepago. Like if you're going to pay like a prepaid plan, it's called prepago, Prepago. And then you can just translate the website to Spanish. To English. Expat Crib says, I pay 100,000 Colombian pesos, $24 for unlimited. I pay around that. I think I pay around like 130, if I remember correctly, with Claro. It's about 130,000. Well, actually, they send me messages all the time. Like literally, they'll send you a message like 4 days before you have to pay, telling you got to pay. Let me see. I'll tell you exactly what I pay for my Claro. Of course, I don't find it now. Let's see. It's got to be in here. I'll tell you exactly. I have an unlimited plan as well. I pay 119,000 pesos. Yeah, 119,000 pesos, which is about like 27 bucks or something per month for unlimited. Buddha says that's about $10 US dollar for cell service, correct? Yes. Yeah, with the prepaids, it depends on how much data you use per month, but I was finding that I would pay like 30 to 50,000 pesos per month, and I would never run out. Now I just do the prepaid because my company pays for it, and it's a write-off. Zombie said, what's up, Zombie? How's it going? Phil says, heard having a prepago is still cheaper than having a regular phone plan that you pay every month. Yes, like I said, I was paying less, and it's less responsibility because if I don't want to pay 1 month and I don't care, then I don't care. But I also like the convenience of never even having to pay, and I always have it on my phone. And it's through the business, so it's a write-off. It's an expense for me, so I prefer that. Okay, so that's the phone. Claro, I always use that one. That's the best. You could do prepaid or post-pay. With the post-pay plan for unlimited, it's going to be like $25 per month. So it's pretty affordable. Okay, going to the next slide. Staying in Colombia, the fun part. Visa options in Colombia. So there are a few visa options in Colombia. Let's talk about them. I'm not going to go into like super detail, but let's just review them. So you've got the digital nomad visa, which a lot of people are getting, and the digital nomad visa is usually for about a year. Some people have gotten it for 2 years. I heard that if you apply for the digital nomad visa outside of Colombia, the likelihood of getting 2 years is higher. But if you're in Colombia and you apply for the digital nomad visa, usually they only give you a year. You have to meet some requirements. Whoops. You need to meet some requirements in order to obviously get the digital nomad visa. Some of the requirements are, how much money you make per month through your digital nomad business or your freelance business or whatever it is that you do for work. And you have to prove how much you're making, or you have to prove that you're making that per month with bank statements, etc. And I believe it's $800 per month. You have to show that you make at least $800 per month. And you have to show bank statements, maybe even like, what do you call it? Bank statements and, what do you call that? Invoices, etc. I don't know the whole process because I haven't gone through it. And a lot of the people that want to stay here that are relocating, they don't do the digital nomad visa. For example, the people in the Medellin Masterclass, most of them, I don't think anybody in the Medellin Masterclass has done the digital nomad visa because it doesn't help you towards residency. It's a 1-year visa or a 2-year visa, but it doesn't help you for residency, and it's more of like a temporary visa. So a lot of people get it that are just going to be here for a year and then they're leaving, right? They're going to another country, etc. So that might not be for you if you're planning to relocate here for long term. But anyway, it's an option for staying here for at least a year. Expat Crib says, if you have healthcare insurance for a year or more, you may get over a year. Oh, I got you. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so that's the digital nomad visa, very popular right now because a lot of people are coming in just for a year, etc. But if you're coming here for long term, I usually recommend something that can work towards residency. For example, like a student visa, depending on the class that you're taking, and I recommend that you do take a class. Some people will get the student visa and not show up to class. They just pay for it, pay off the institution that helped them get the student visa and never go to class. So there's no attendance record or anything. That can screw you in the future. I know because I've had friends that has happened to them where they went to get a different type of visa or maybe residency or something else. And then they asked, okay, well, where's the roll? What do you call it? Your attendance record. And, there is none. So yeah, it could be kind of tricky. I always suggest that you be honest and actually take a course, whether it's 6 months or a year. You can get a student visa for that long, depending on the course. and you can learn something. Usually the best thing to learn is Spanish if you don't speak it. There are some great schools like EAFIT, which is one of the best universities here, private university, that has a program where they can sponsor a student visa. There are other private schools like LCN, Elefun, I think not Blink Spanish. I don't know, but there's a couple. I know Elefun, LCN, and EAFIT, and UPB. They have programs that sponsor student visas. Joe Angelo says, will I be taxed on a disability retirement visa on my global income from the U.S. if I stay more than 183 years? And is it the same for a marriage visa? So if you stay, so I'm not a lawyer. Joe, very great question. I always, disclaimer, you need to go talk to the guys at nexo.legal. They're great. Get on WhatsApp with them and ask them this question, or any competent lawyer out here, tax attorney or even immigration attorney can maybe answer this. But anybody that stays over 183 days is liable to taxes in Colombia, meaning that you may have to report taxes. Whether you have to pay, that's a whole other thing. It's just like in the United States. You might you have to do taxes, but it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily pay taxes. So depending on how you do your taxes here and what you pay in the United States, or what is being charged, in taxes there, you can get deductions here for those amounts, etc. So to answer your question, I don't know exactly, because that's a very exact situation that I haven't gone through. Definitely talk to the guys at nexo.legal. But yeah, if you stay over 183 days, you are liable to declare taxes. Now, you're going to want somebody on your side that can help you make the declaration so that you don't have to pay double taxes, right? That would be the worst. Brunmax says, if you were to get a visa, does the visa also apply to your spouse and child? Not necessarily, as far as I know. I think that's a separate thing. Again, the guys at Nexo Legal can definitely answer all these questions. Nexo.legal. But as far as I know, not necessarily. Joe says, thank you. No worries, Joe. I appreciate it. Okay, so student visa, you could do that through private institutions that will sponsor a student visa. Retirement visa, we just talked about that. Those are becoming more popular because there's a more of a retirement community coming down here. Which is awesome. I think it's great, because the people that are coming on retirement visa are obviously older. They're coming here not because they're looking to party and be crazy out here. They're coming to establish a life, and live out hopefully their best years of their life in Medellin, Colombia, because they found that the weather, the people, the cost of living, and the culture, the food, everything is for them. So I love that. I love that people are coming down here with the retirement visa. I know that that community has grown more. And the people that can help with that, again, are nexo.legal. That's their website, nexo.legal. You got to hit them up. I've never had to deal with a retirement visa because none of the masterclass students have gone through the retirement visa. I think one person has, but I didn't help. It was the lawyer. The lawyer did everything. So I don't know the complete process, but I heard that there is somewhat of a process. It's not as easy as it used to be. Some things have changed, so you definitely want to talk to a professional. Okay, the next thing on the list is the real estate investor visa. This one I've dealt with a bunch because I sell real estate here. I also have the Medellin Masterclass. A lot of the students have bought real estate and have gone through the process of getting their real estate investor visa or their migrant visa through the purchase of property down here. Brunmax says, what's the site for the lawyer? Here, I'll put it in the chat right now for you. It's nexo.legal. I'll put it in the chat. I'll just write it here. Let me write it here. Bro, why is this thing not working? Oh, there we go. Nexo.legal. If you type that into the web browser, you'll find them. Very easy. Okay, so where were we? Oh yeah, so real estate investor visa. I've done a ton of these. Well, I haven't done them myself, but I've helped people buy property, etc., to go get their visa. So the first thing that you need to know about the real estate investor visa is that you should be buying the property first, and then you apply for the visa. That's the typical process. So in order to qualify for the real estate investor visa, you have to cover 100. It's about $120,000 in Colombia. So I always tell people that you want to purchase a property over $120,000, usually about 150 or more, because the real estate investor visa is usually for 3 years. Like you'll get it for 3 years, and then you're going to have to renew. And if you renew, you're gonna have to meet the minimum requirement 3 years out. So you've got to be aware that there's going to be inflation, and the minimum requirement is going to be more in the future. So you want to make sure that you cover that with your initial investment. So let's say you buy a property for $150,000, then you're pretty much covered for the next few years whenever you need to renew the visa. And then I think after 4 years, you can apply for residency. Either 4 or 5 years, you can apply for residency. So you want to make sure that you're covered with your investment, and obviously do the entire process correctly with a professional like myself and a lawyer that will help you do the visa part. And we use a real estate attorney as well in all of our real estate deals. Okay, so inflation is a monster. Yeah, inflation here is 10%. It's basically 10% every year. So real estate investor visa can be pretty easy. It's not the fastest because you do have to find the property first and buy it. And that process could take longer depending on you. And it always depends on the buyer. It's not, right now there's a ton of inventory. So it's not like, oh man, I've got to go look for properties and maybe negotiate a deal. I mean, there is so much inventory right now that the problem is the buyer whenever there is a problem, because luckily, since I started selling real estate out here, the buyers that I've dealt with are like super chill. They're like, this is what I want. This is my budget. Find me a list or make me a list of properties. And that's what we do. We make a list of properties for them within that budget. What the rate of return is going to be according to AirDNA, and just like a supposed, net income and net income and expenses. Have the cap rate for them. Be like, okay, this is what you could potentially make because of this, that, and the other. Here's some examples of properties that are just like this one that are on Airbnb, and this is what they're making, et cetera, et cetera. So we do that study for them, and then they're like, okay, let's go see these. And then they come down here. We go see 5 to 10 properties. They make an offer on a couple, and then they'll buy one. And one of my clients right now is on his second property now. He bought one in Provenza. Now he's trying to buy another one, which is great. Expat Crib says, yes, this is correct. You need to go 30K over the minimum, which is around 120. Yep. Expat Crib knows because he's a real estate guy here as well. After 5 consecutive years, you can apply for citizenship. Okay. Citizenship, right? Or residency. Well, either or. Buddha says, can you give a ballpark typical ROI on a $150,000 property? Yeah. I mean, typical. I always say conservatively, you could, if you buy a $150,000 property in El Poblado, your ROI is probably going to be 6% or more. Probably. I can't give, I'm not going to guarantee it, because what if you suck at managing your property and you put like crap, what do you call it? Crap furnishing and horrible decor, and nobody wants to stay in your property. You get terrible reviews because you never answer your phone. Like, then you're like, oh, I didn't get that, 12% ROI that everybody is getting. So it always depends on you. It depends on the location. It depends on the type of person that you are catering to. For example, I cater to like the middle high end visitors here. So mine stay full because there's not a lot of inventory for those type of apartments. There's a ton of inventories for like middle range, like the IKEA furniture type apartments that go for like between $1,000 to $2,000. I go for the ones that are $2,000 to $3,000 range. Those are my apartments, so they're nicer. They're custom made stuff, and also the customer service on our part is like top notch. Like I've never gotten less than a 5-star review. If you want to check out my Airbnbs, I can send you the links. I've never gotten less than a 5-star review out of all the reviews I've ever gotten over the last 2 years. And it's because of that. Not only is the apartment stellar, but also customer service is like top notch. I'll give you an example. One of our recent tourists that came in here to stay for a month, she was here for her birthday with her friend or her sister. And she said, and I asked her, "Oh, is this your first time?" "Yeah, it's my first time." "Why are you coming to Medellin?" "Oh, it's because it's my 30th birthday and we're going to celebrate." So when they got here, we had the whole apartment decorated with the 30 with birthday stuff, had a cake for them, had champagne. I mean, we're talking about, that's the level of customer service that I do, because I don't know how to do any different. I don't ever want less than a 5-star review. I know it's going to happen one day and I'll probably jump out the window, but it's just one of those things that I have to do because that's the way I am. Expat Crib says, if you find a bargain apartment right now, you can renovate it yourself. You may get 12 to 13%. Otherwise, most people should bank on 7 to 9%. That's why I always say you can bank on 6%, because even if you are a shitty host, you can get 6%. And I've seen them on Airbnb. I'm like, how is this person making this much money when they've got horrible reviews at times? And going forward, people should invest in properties for expat for long-term lease, 6 months to a year. That's the best market right now. Maybe. I mean, I think it depends, Expat Crib. There's where I would have to disagree there. I think the best market right now is for tourists, man. Like, that's where you make the most money. Maybe for selling properties to expats is different. Brunmax says, let's say you buy an apartment for $110,000 and put $30K into renovations, a total of $150,000. Does that count towards your $120,000 threshold? The short answer is yes, but you got to work with the attorney for this stuff. Or is it just the purchase price? No, construction and renovations can be a part of it. You got to work with with your real estate attorney and your your both attorneys to make sure that is included. But yes, the short answer is yes. JJ says, Expat Cribs, that girl you have speaking during your real estate videos is super cute. Go check out this website, go check out Expat Crib channel. They've got a great channel. They do a good job. Awesome job. I love working with them. Buddha says, much appreciated, Expat Crib. No worries. I'm sure he's happy to be here. Moto Fishy, what's up? Is there a part of Colombia that has more seasons? This is something my significant other is very focused on. And while I prefer eternal spring, other options definitely matter. No, there isn't. Pretty much anywhere near the equator is like, you don't get many seasons. As far as I know, in Colombia, wherever you're at in the city, whatever the weather is there, it's pretty consistent throughout the year. There are some places that are colder than others, but then it's not going to be as hot. Or there's places that are hotter than others, but they never get cold, kind of like on the coast. Year round, it's muggy and hot. And then they do have seasons where it rains, but it's still humid and it's still hot. Same with Medellin. There's seasons here where it rains more throughout the year, but it's still, like 75 degrees, and 50% humidity. Okay, so Moto says, and to be fair, I'm not looking to invest. I'm looking to relocate permanently. Yeah, perfect. That works out. Yeah, if you find a property and you put money into it, and you meet the threshold, that'll work. Oni says, if I get a digital nomad visa and after that expires, what are the options to live there longer term with a remote job? Yeah, so the options you'd have to get married. That's one of the ones on the list here. The easiest and best visa to get is the marriage visa, but then I guess that's kind of like not the easiest and the best for some people, right? Because it involves getting married. So so in that case, if you get married, you've got it sorted. But if you don't get married, then you're going to have to look at one of these other options, like a student visa, retirement visa, real estate investor visa. The business visa is about, I think, 70,000. What is it? Well, no, it's not 70,000. It's like $40,000 investment into a business in Colombia to get a business visa. Here, let me open up the internet here. I should have looked this up beforehand. I forget. Does anybody know what the minimum requirement is to invest in a business to get a business visa? Sorry, let me go back. There we go. Business visa. Waiting on my new passport to come back in to make another trip there. Let's go, Derwin. That's what I thought, and I appreciate the honesty. No worries, Moto. Yeah, so I don't know what the minimum investment is. I thought it was 40,000. Let's see. What is the minimum investment for a business visa, Colombia? 130 million pesos, according to this real quick snippet here. And in COP to USD, that is, oh, that's $31,000, $32,000. $32,000. Okay. Well, okay. Buddha says 34. Okay. So it depends on the exchange rate and the date, right? But, okay. So we got that sorted. So about $34 to $32,000 minimum investment to get the business visa. The business visa, yeah. So there are investments down here that you can make. For example, let me open this up again. There we go. So, for example, I know a guy down here that manages a bunch of hotels, and he sells each suite as an investment in the business. And they cost about $50,000 to $70,000. So let's say you don't have 120 or more than $120,000 to invest in into a property here, but you might have $50,000 or $70,000 to invest in a business to get the visa, and you still want to, and you actually want to invest in a business that gives you an ROI. One of these investments into these hotels, into a suite, that will give you a return on investment and that you can sell in the future too, because it's an asset, might be the best way. And if you want that, if you're interested in that, you can email me at medellinbuzzandrew@gmail.com and I can give you that information. But there are those type of investments out here, and people do them all the time because they're just cheaper than buying a property. A lot of people can't afford to buy a property right now, but maybe they will in the future. So why not get in the door through a business where you can invest maybe $40,000 or $34,000 into like a hotel suite that is being rented out, where you actually make some cash flow. Does that make sense? Yes, Brunmac, I just answered that. Yes, it does. Investing in a hotel does count towards it. Make sure that you're dealing with the right people that know how to do that or that are already doing that, like my friend Nemo, who has that type of business. And there are others that are doing that already as well here. The ads are killing you, Derwin. Sorry. Hey, man, I have them set as like the standard thing. You need to become a member to the channel. That way you don't get any ads, Derwin. You need $35,000 in net worth for business visa, convertible to permanent residency in 5 years. Perfect. Thank you, Buddha. So it's the same thing as, yeah, so in 5 years it could be a residency. That's great. It's around 30K. Yep, yeah. It's we just looked it up. It's about 32 right now with the exchange rate. So let's just say it's 35 just to be safe. How am I not a member? I don't know, Derwin. Okay, so JJ says, paying a girl $300 a month for 3 years until you get your residency is the best way to get residency. Every girl in Colombia who loved $300 a month for 3 years. You're talking about getting married. I mean, I'm not going to condone that, but I mean, hopefully that you do get married for love. If you believe in love, hopefully that's the case, not just for a visa, but I get it. Okay, so that's a business visa. Marriage or domestic partnership visas, we just talked about that. It's probably the easiest visa to get. AK just went through that. AK Joel. He got married, and he said that it was really easy to get. So, and he has a whole video on that, I think. So you could check out his channel. So that's staying in Colombia visa options. Work with Nexo.legal is the guys that I recommend, but there's a lot of other immigration attorneys out here that can help you. Just find a reputable one, vet them through the Facebook groups, ask people who they've used, etc. Some people don't even use a lawyer. Some people just use an assistant that has done it before that will help them through the process because it might be easier and obviously cheaper. So I would go with an attorney, but you're free to do your own research. JJ is preaching a new business. You're trying to out Colombians. Okay, so the next part about living in Medellin, full-time or part-time, is connecting with people. And meeting like-minded people, meeting locals, etc., that you get along with, that you create meaningful relationships, friendships, maybe even fall in love in the future. That type of stuff is sometimes what holds people back from living here full-time, or it holds people back. It doesn't hold them back, but it changes their mind after they're here. So they get here. I've seen this a few times. It doesn't happen a lot, but I have seen it a few times where people come down here. They do everything right. They've gotten their apartment, et cetera, but they're just not integrating, and they're not finding their tribe or building their own community of like-minded individuals and people that they can resonate with and that they can hang out with and that they can do stuff with on a constant basis to help them grow, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, etc., and even physically if you're doing sports with them, etc. They just don't get that, so they leave because they need to go back home to their tribe. So this is a very important part in the Medellin Masterclasses, to make sure that we help those that join to find their tribe, to build their community so that they can live here for a very, very long time. Oh, hey, Mr. Warner, thank you so much for the $10 donation. Mr. Warner says, I'm moving down here on a retirement visa with 10 million pesos. Nice. Monthly, my girl from Cali, Colombia says, as a couple, we can only live normal. What is considered normal in Cali, Colombia? I don't know about that. In Cali, Colombia, with 10 million pesos, that's about $2,200 per month. Cali, Colombia is cheaper than Medellin, so I don't know exactly where and what neighborhoods you can live there, but I've been there many times. I'm sure that you can find something very decent on that budget, about $2,200 per month. You can definitely. What do you guys think in the chat about Mr. Warner's comment here? What's her income? What is she putting into because it should be more than 10 million, right? If she's got an income. That would be my question, Mr. Warner. But, to answer your question in all fairness, if 10 million, let's say, is both of your incomes, you should be able to live in a decent neighborhood and in like a 2-bedroom apartment where and be able to have everything you need, like food, water, hot water, all that stuff. Like middle class or maybe even upper middle class Colombian in Cali, Colombia. In Medellin, you could also live like that. If you had 2,200 for a couple in Medellin, you would be living in a neighborhood in Belén, or maybe in parts of Envigado, parts of maybe Sabaneta, on the outskirts of Medellin, where it's cheaper and it's also more peaceful and more, cost effective. 10 million pesos, you're living easy, especially in Cali. Yeah, exactly. I think you'd be okay. Derwin says, my last trip there, 1 week versus 1 week of September, I stayed in Laureles by the mall. You mean by Unicentro? NGR says, I don't know what lifestyle she's used to, but $2,500 in Cali gives you a nice life. I agree with that, NGR. Moto says, honestly, how is someone like Duolingo not sponsoring this channel? Oh, I don't know. Part of relocating is learning the language. That's true. JJ says you need to get rid of that girl. Oh my God. All right. So I'm not going to give you any relationship advice, but I'm telling you that with 10 million Colombian pesos per month, you guys should be pretty comfortable in like a middle class Colombian neighborhood, which will be nice. I've lived in those. Those are great. Like maybe like even Floresta here. She means that you will be taking her shopping every week. that you Derwin says, I'm trying to live off that too. Yeah, I mean, you can. Buddha says, I have checked out Kali through Sayan Chan. Oh, he lives out there? I've seen his channel. Great info on women and stuff. Check out that channel. And that amount seems like you should be really comfy with no worries. Jay says, top 5% lifestyle in Cali easily? Okay. Jesse James says, my Colombian wife says normal to everything. If I ask her how she is doing, she says normal, no matter what she's doing. Normal. Yeah, normal is like whatever in Spanish. Nachos, what's up, Nachos? W, hats off to Andrew. I'll be in Medellin for 3 months. Do I need to get a driver's license if I plan to driving there? Your U.S. driver's license should be valid for 2 months, I believe. I believe it's 2 months. You can drive around with your U.S. driver's license. Derwin the Destroyer says, what's the Las Vegas area like? Las Vegas. So Las Vegas is a big street. It goes through, it goes all the way to Envigado. So I like, my parents live off Las Vegas in Patio Bonito. That area is great. It's right across the street from the Metro and El Poblado. That area is awesome. So it just depends on where. I think most of it's good. I like it. Okay, so meeting people. One of the best things, the best tip that I can give you is this. Go here, go to the internet and type in MDE community. If you go to the MDE community right here, MDE community website, you type it, you click on join a community here, and look at all these. These are all WhatsApp channels. All you got to do is click on one that resonates with you. Let's say you like to cook and you want to hang out with other people that cook. Maybe do cookouts at your house or whatever. You go to the cooking club right here, and you sign up for the cooking club, and it's free. Let's go. And they ask you a few questions, and then you have access to the WhatsApp group, and then you start meeting people and doing stuff. That's how easy it is. But you've got to be diligent about this. It's not like, oh, just join and then never, and just read messages and never interact. You want to be active. Like there's a women's club. There's a hiking club. There's a writing club. There's a pride zone. There's a Laureles neighborhood club for people that live in Laureles. There's an Envigado neighborhood WhatsApp group. There's a parents. I'm part of this parents one now too. There's a cycling club. There's a lot of WhatsApp groups here for entrepreneurship, culture, dancing, general stuff. If you like recreation, running, board games, I'm part of the board game one. Motorcycle meetups, health and wellness. This is the best website for this because it's not just expats or tourists on these. It's it's both. It's local Colombians that are part of these groups and other foreigners, where you can meet both locals and foreigners at MDE. Hey, Squishy Plum, thank you so much for the $5 dono. Nice shirt. I appreciate it, man. You know, I try to stay fly. So this is a great way to meet people, but you have to be active. You've got to interact with people. You've got to go to the meetups. You've got to push yourself out of the comfort zone and meet people. MDE community and the Facebook groups is how I've built a lot of my friendships out here and how I've met a lot of people. The way that I meet people nowadays, like for example, when it came to dating and all that stuff, is just living my life. I play basketball on competitive teams. I go to the gym pretty much every day. I go to Ciclovia every Sunday. I go to the farmer's market every Sunday. I do board game night with new people and old friends on a consistent basis. What else do? I play the guitar, and I play with people whenever I can on a consistent basis. I sell real estate, so I'm meeting other real estate agents that are both male and female, and we become friends because we're doing the same thing. That's the great thing about Colombians, is that they're kind of cliquey. So when you have something in common, like for example, like a trade, let's say you sell real estate, or you do something that they do as well, it becomes like your instant best friends. It's like, oh, we've got something in common. This is what we're going to hang on to. Let's go have a beer afterwards. Like literally, you go have a beer after everything. I play basketball with my team, and after that, we're drinking beers with the other team. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody loves everybody. That's the beautiful thing about this culture, is that once you get in it, that's how you stay in it, and you grow your own tribe, your own community. But it means that for some people, you have to step out of your comfort zone, because maybe you weren't even doing that in your home country. If you think about it, I wasn't doing that. When I was living in the United States for 26 years, I had my friends from childhood and from university and from college. From high school. Those were my friends. I hardly ever made new friends. And I was 27, 28 years old when I got deported, and I wasn't making new friends in the U.S. But here, I've gotten out of my comfort zone, and I go and do new things. Like, for example, I'm not a big hiker, but I'm part of the hiking group, and I go every once in a while to push myself out of the comfort zone and meet new people and do new experiences. There's a bunch of stuff like that I do where I'm like, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to force myself to do it. And then every time I do it, I thank myself, because I actually have a good time and I met people that I actually liked. I've never had a time where I went and I was like, oh man, this sucks. It's always been the opposite, where it's like, I don't really want to go, but I force myself and then I have a great time. Dance studios. Yeah, dancing is one of them. I know how to dance salsa because I'm Colombian, and I grew up with my sister and my female cousins, and they all taught us how to dance salsa when we were kids in Orange County, California. So I know the basic steps, but I didn't know all of the steps, or I didn't know enough to like do turns and stuff. So I go to Dance Free every now and then. I go to take dance lessons. If I meet someone cool and I'm like, oh, let's take dance lessons together, I'll do that. And it's out of my comfort zone, because in order for me to dance, I have to take like 2 shots of tequila, or at least in order for me to get in the mood. So for me to do it sober is to get out of the comfort zone and be like, all right, let's do something that I really don't want to do, and then do it. And I have fun. I meet a bunch of people. It's awesome. Derwin says, I'm in a dance one. Okay, that's cool. Buddha says, I remember getting an international license to drive while deployed. Okay, that's interesting. Is there something like that? Or get a cedula and a local license? Here, you don't have to do a test. You just have to pay for the license, really. The driver's license can cost up to about $200. It's about $250 to get a driver's license, but it's good for 10 years. And you have to do some cognitive tests and stuff, but yeah, you don't have to pass any tests or like written test or driving test here. That's why they drive so badly here. Okay, Jay Will says international driver's license IDP now offers 3-year driver's license for $79, digitally only version available for $59 US. Okay, there's a solution there. Thank you, Jay. Ian says, can you type out your email for the business visa? Yeah. Let me do that right here. Yeah, I'll type it out here. I don't have it I usually put it in the description, but I'll type it out here in the chat so that you have it. Yeah, if you guys need to email me about real estate, about anything, or about the masterclass or whatever, you can do it at MedellinBuzzAndrew@gmail.com. There it is.
Collaboration is key for team success.
I'm playing that. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so go ahead and email me there. Derwin says, I was in a salsarengue making a fool of myself. I was a salsarengue. Only lived in Medellin for a month. Most of the time when I met women in restaurants, they don't offer to share anything. Bit weird. Is that the norm there? Yes, that is the norm. In most third world countries, men are men, women are women, men pay stuff, men provide, women support. That's the way it is. Derwin says, I also finally made it to Guatapé. Oh, nice. I love Guatapé. All right. So meeting like-minded people, do it. Get out of your comfort zone. Have fun. And then finally, succeed with your happy life in Medellin, Colombia. Now, how do you succeed here? Well, by investing, hiring locals with your local business, or just hiring a local to be your virtual assistant. Even if you're retired, you can be sharing the wealth, giving back in that form to the locals and the community here, taking trips out of town, going to small towns, discovering the country, going to different cities. I mean, getting on an airplane pretty much anywhere in Colombia from Medellin is about an hour, maybe tops, an hour and 20 minutes tops. You can get anywhere here, and it's pretty cheap to fly anywhere. Also, road trips are awesome. I do road trips a lot. I like to drive, so I do like to take road trips. Maybe find love out here. Maybe meet people like we were just talking about by getting out of your comfort zone and doing stuff that makes you grow emotionally, psychologically, physically, and spiritually, that will help you meet others and also, make those long-lasting connections. Because I've been here for 15 years, and I have friends that I met when I first got here, and they're still my friends. Those bonds, those things get stronger as I've grown and they've grown. We've gotten stronger friendships, stronger relationships, etc. And it's something that I hope that everybody that comes down here to live can experience, because it is awesome to have pretty much be able to call someone whenever you need to talk to them, or call someone whenever you need help, or call someone just because you're bored. I mean, just to do that kind of stuff with people is awesome, and having a plethora of friends is even better. Waking up every day happy. That's something that happens I wrote that down because it's something that I feel every single day. And if you've been watching this channel, I think I emit that feeling because I say it all the time, and I think I don't know, my personality kind of shows it, that my life here is awesome. There's not one day where I feel like, man, I don't want to get out of bed and do what I'm going to do today. I never have that living here. It did happen in the beginning. When I got deported from the United States to Colombia, I had many days where I was like, shit, I don't want to wake up and go to this goddamn call center, work for 8 hours for $4 an hour. Or I don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and give a 6 a.m. class, English class right now, after being hungover on the weekend or whatever. Like, I've had those moments, but now my life, I've evolved, and I've catered, and I've designed my life where I'm super happy. And now it's gotten even better that I have a baby. Like, waking up every day to see him and to help raise him is like the greatest thing that could have happened to me. So my life is even better now. If I were to lose all my money right now, let's say I lost everything, I guarantee you that I would be able to pick it up in a couple months. I guarantee you that I would be okay because of this mindset, this lifestyle that I have here, the contacts that I have now, the network of people that I have out here. It's just awesome. So that's how you succeed down here. I think that's how you feel successful down here. It's not by having a ton of money, becoming a multimillionaire. I don't care about all that. I want to be able to have every day that I wake up, look forward to it, and be happy. And that's really why I live in Medellin. Otherwise, I wouldn't live in this city, because I could live in any other city I wanted to, perhaps any city in South America if I wanted to. But I decided to live here, and this is my home, and I will probably die here, even though I would love to visit and maybe live, part-time in other countries. This is the country and the city where I want to be for a very, very long time. Buddha says, yes, sir, you are quite the ambassador. Both you and AK make Medellin seem really dope. Yeah, I appreciate it. Expat Crib says, but the lawyer that Andrew works with can set up the business visa. They do that. Yes. Nexo.legal can help you set that up. It's easy to rent cars in Medellin. Yes, it is. It's easy to rent cars here for sure, even with your foreign driver's license. I've done it. I did it when I first got here because I did take a few road trips when I first got here. But yeah, so again, that's the end of the presentation here, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. Again, this is just a small portion of what the Medellin Masterclass is. If you're interested in it, we have a free webinar where we go. It's about an hour. It's over an hour webinar where we go over in detail some of these things. and in detail about the Medellin Masterclass, which is obviously a lot larger than what we just went through right here. The link is in the description to the free webinar. You click on that, you take the webinar, and it's completely free. And you learn whatever you need to learn from it. Take whatever you need to take from it. Oni says, thank you. No worries. Thank you, man. I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for your time and your information. Thank you for my thank you on my question. Yeah. Wait, Warner. Oh yeah, I did answer your question, right, Warner? But anyway, I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. What is this? It's Sunday. I don't even know the day. So every day is the same for me. It's Sunday. So tomorrow's Monday. I hope you have a great week. I'm going to go watch football. Well, I'm going to watch it in my living room. I got the baby here. My dad's here watching the baby while I do this live. That's the beautiful thing about my life now, is that I have my parents here. Hadn't seen them. I hadn't seen my mom since 2010. I hadn't seen her for about 14 years. She just moved here. And now I see her too much. I see her every day. No, you can't see your mom too much, man. It's awesome. Jesse, thank you, Andrew. You're the man. Joel, not so much. Oh, man, well, you got to hate on Joel. He's awesome. Nachos, do you still do the weekly or monthly meetups? I only do them with the Medellin Masterclass students now because, like I said, we've grown to like about 40 students or so. And now I'm doing real estate as well. So I do go, okay, by the way, if you come to Medellin and you go to the real estate meetups, like, for example, if you join the real estate group on MDE Community, which I am a part of, there's a couple of other real estate groups that I'm a part of as well. So whenever there's a real estate meetup, I go to those. So if you go to those, we'll probably meet. If you play basketball or go to the gym at SmartFit, I'll probably see you there. I see a lot of you guys out there as well. And of course, if you go to Ciclovia on Sundays, I always see people on Ciclovia stop and have a coffee or just have a chat with people. Love it. Football or football? No, football. NFL, baby. Football, there's no football today. I watched the Manchester game earlier today, and they got killed 3-0 by Tottenham. That was crazy. You're just picking on him, Jesse? All right, that sounds good. All right, guys, I'm going to end it there. I'm going to do the sign off here for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And if you want to watch some more informative videos on living in Medellin, make sure to click on this playlist right here. All right, that was for the sign off on the recorded version of the video because I'm going to do a video for that one. Thank you, guys. I will see you guys. Oh, you're a Commanders fan? No, Raiders. I don't even know. The Raiders were playing right now. They probably lost. I don't know. All right, guys. I will see you guys next week on the next live. I'll probably do that one on the streets of Medellin. See you guys later.